Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Fulani. Hope you had a great weekend. And so here we are at the beginning of the week. We're quite busy. We're inching forward ever so, surely towards the 29th of May when the inauguration shall hold. And Nigeria will indeed have a new president. But as you know, as we're going towards that day, there are still issues following from the presidential election, by which I mean, well, issues are being made. And as you know, one of the ones that really shocked up everybody was this whole matter about an interim government. That was, most people saw that as a curved ball. They didn't see it coming, weren't expecting it. And most people have been saying that, what is that? How does that come into the conversation at all? An election has been held, has been won, has been lost, and then some people are talking about an interim national government. Well, all the way over in the U.S., the Nigerian human rights community is also thriving, and we have Nosa Osaikhuiwu, who is a certified project manager. He's based in Houston, Texas, and he's our guest this morning. A fine morning to you, Mr. Nosa Osaikhuiwu.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to join you this morning.
Indeed, our pleasure. So tell me how it grabbed you, because well, in the West, you don't hear about those kind of things, but, well, we're talking about your home here, Nigeria. Tell me how it first grabbed you when you heard that there were indeed people talking about a national government of national, well, in fact, it's a bit confusing. But that, interim national government, interim in what manner? What do you think about it?
Yeah, thank you so much for the question. Well, first and foremost, I would like to congratulate the Nigerian people for having held a very successful elections, notwithstanding some of the alleged irregularities. By and large, compared to the previous elections under the Fourth Republic, this was a successful and credible elections. And they should be proud of that. What we then need to do is to move forward and continue to build on the current achievements. Having said that, the idea of having an interim government or even coming up with such assertions is really laughable. It is laughable and it's also annoying, given the history of this country. For a greater part of our years of existence as a country, we were under military dictatorship. And thank God the country successfully exited the military regime system, and we now have a thriving democracy. So for those who experienced the interim government after the aborted June 12 elections, they'll be shocked that any Nigerian would even mute such an idea at times like this. Because in a democracy, you must be prepared to win and lose an election. If you only believe that when you win is when there's a democracy, then you don't believe in the tenets of democracy, because it has two sides, winning and losing. So the idea of returning to an interim government, it is undemocratic, it is criminal, and in fact, it's seditious. And those who are responsible for these kind of ideas, bringing it into the public domain, they should be arrested and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
We've seen all sorts of demonstrations, even over in your neck of the woods in the U.S. You have Nigerians, you know how it is. They're whipping up propaganda. Anybody can apply for a permit for a demonstration, and so you have Nigerians applying at a park. I understand is across the road from the White House, and now making a whole big deal of that. That they're protesting. Meanwhile, the U.S. government has nothing whatsoever to do with this, but it's not an unusual ploy by some of our compatriots in diaspora, and in particular in the U.S. in this case. You must have heard about that, I'm sure. You must have heard about that particular incident.
Yeah, thank you so much for that question. Yes, it is as easy as making yourself a breakfast to get a permit in the U.S. to demonstrate. So that should not be given any premium by the Nigerian people. because you can apply right now, this morning, and to the White House and say you would need a permit, or to the police department in Washington, you need a permit to demonstrate in the White House. They will give you the conditions, and once you meet those conditions, you can demonstrate for any reason under the sun. You could demonstrate that you want goats to be running around somewhere in sub-Saharan Africa, or that you want the sun not to shine tomorrow for any reason. So that should not be given any priority or premium by our people. But I want to make one point here, which is that the current noise and decibel being raised about these elections in Nigeria, I believe, is premised on the preponderance of unsubstantiated video materials that were circulated on the internet and on WhatsApp pages. These unverified and unsubstantiated materials has inflamed the emotions of the Nigerian people, who already have had a crisis of confidence in the Nigerian political class. So when you now marry that with alleged video evidence showing improprieties and irregularities, any individual will be inflamed. And I wish to say this for the record. In the United States, in the last presidential elections, there are still people in this country who still believe, because they saw fake videos online, that the opposition party won the presidential elections. So Nigerians should stew over that for a second.
Really?
That the presidential elections in 2020 between former President Donald Trump and the current President Joseph Biden, according to some in the opposition, Donald Trump won the elections.
That's
and
right.
The elections were rigged in favor of the current president.
Yeah.
There is no evidence to substantiate that, but that belief does exist in this country. So Nigerians should be rest assured that if such a belief can happen here in the US because of the preponderance of unsubstantiated video materials, then it is expected that in a country like ours that is still developing, that video information circulating could also alter the perception of the Nigerian people as to the credibility or veracity of our electoral process.
But I think it also goes back, in addition to what you just said, to what you said at the beginning, which is that people are just being, not that you use the word, people are just being emotional about this. And if you're going to be a Democrat, then someone will win and someone will lose. Usually in an ideal case scenario, you have the loser congratulating the winner. That has not happened yet, but, okay, that's okay, it's their prerogative whether to be good sportsmen or not. But it is clear that APC, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, won that election, and he didn't win it by a thin slice. Yet people refuse, and then combine that with problems at home. The person who was third, who scored the third most, most votes, actually saying that he actually scored the most votes and that he was heading to court to, go and prove it. And then, as you said, it's quite messed up. Perhaps that's why at home here, people keep on keeping on the matter. Say no, because you throw enough mud, some of it will stick. You tell enough lies, some people will begin to believe that maybe. And so that's why it is felt that there's a reason to keep on with the facts of the case as we have them now. A legitimate body, INEC, rightly declared the winner, and then some people are going against that and they say they're going to court, and that's their prerogative. Please go to court. But in the meantime, don't continue to do those kind of things that sort of shake confidence in it. That's what we have on our hands right now.
Yes, you're very correct. In fact, recently I penned an article in some of the Nigerian media houses, and I have the utmost respect for the Nigerian people. The Nigerian people are a decent people. Majority of our people are law-abiding. They love their country, and they want their country to do well. And I could not be more proud of them. I believe that the current situation in the country stems from the fact that the Nigerian people love to win. We love to win at all costs, no matter what the price is. And that is fine. I associate myself with winning.
Yes.
But however, in life is filled with ups and downs. You win some and you lose some. But the attitude of the Nigerian population to losing is not very encouraging. We have what I term a sore losers mentality. In a recent article that I penned, I wrote it as a nation of sore losers. What do I mean by that? I mean that we have a culture in Nigeria where when we lose, we tend to blame somebody else. We tend to blame something else as being responsible for our loss. I'll give you some critical examples. As young men growing up, when we play soccer or football on the field, as we call it back home, when we lose or when any team loses, they blame the official for being unfair to their team. All right? If a student in Nigeria today or anywhere in our country fails an exam, they will say that the teacher was biased against them and therefore cut their marks and gave it to one of their fellow students. That is why they failed. Now, when it comes to elections, when we lose an election, we would always blame our opponents for rigging the election, and that was why we lost. In fact, if you take a historical look, since the beginning of independence, all presidential elections in Nigeria have been contested after the elections, which means the losers have always refused to accept that they lost the election. So this has become a Nigerian tradition, sadly.
Apart from the Jonathan to Buhari transition.
Yes, okay, with the exception of that, but even to a minor extent, yes, there was some hesitation on the part of Jonathan, although he eventually conceded.
Yes.
With some grievances. So historically, Nigerians are known to always say, oh, well, we were rigged that. But if you look at the current elections, just a brief overview here. The Labour Party, I must say here that the party did very well, and they should be congratulated because as a party that came to the national scene to contest the presidential election for the first time, the candidate of the party, according to the results published by INEC, scored almost 28% of the total vote cast. This was a candidate that joined the Labour Party in less than a year.
That's right.
In less than a year, the party got nearly 28% of the votes. So if the party had actually been in operations and actively engaging with the population for 4 years, they may have won this election, but they did not. Now, the candidate of the PDP secured 31%, approximately 32%, according to results from INEC. If you combine the results of the Labour Party and the People's Democratic Party, you are going to get a majority of almost 59% of the total vote cast. Now, but there are two different parties, so you cannot add
right.
votes. But for the purpose of what I'm saying,
yes,
we'll just do the mathematical summation. Now, if you look at the PDP candidate and the APC candidate, they scored 40% of the votes, according to INEC results. That, therefore, being declared as a winner of the elections. So if the Labour Party and the PDP had come together as one party, they may have won these elections. So really, those who are making noise and saying the elections were rigged, fine. It is their right and the right of any Nigerian who contested this election to go to court and challenge the results. But no one has a right to destroy this country, to essentially be calling for a military coup just because they did not win this election.
Indeed.
Because Nigeria is bigger than each and every one of us. Okay. And we all must be builders and not destroyers. Because I firmly believe that Nigeria is at a crossroad, that in the next few years, this country is only going to take off, and the Nigerian people will benefit immensely from the next trajectory of this country.
Okay. Nosa, one moment. Let me take on the first caller. Our program is an interactive one. Mr. George is calling in from Ikeja. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Uncle Yori, and good morning to the gentleman from the U.S.
Yes, Nosa Osaikhuiwu.
Yes, let me say this morning. If the right person is coming to a leadership position, these shenanigans we are seeing is what usually happens. If you like, take your mind back to even an office, the head of an office, the head of an organization. When a properly fit person wants to take over and together, even his colleagues stand on his way. They make sure it doesn't happen because somebody that is going to stop what is wrong, because the majority of people do what is wrong, they want to stand on his way. That is what we are seeing on this election. Okay, you already cast your mind back to the primary. How Asiwaju emerged as the candidate of the party. The people against him are not only outsiders or those in opposition. It includes those in his own party. He triumphed. He went into the elections. See the campaigns. Everything was put against him that will obstruct him. No fuel, no cash, no money in town. Everything was put to make sure that his party is discredited, to make sure he does not get there. So, but he has been, overcoming everything. This latest one of the coup or our interim government is part of the defeatist attitude. And it should just be taken for what it is. But my only surprise is that of our president, the current president. In a country like ours, when issue of a coup is being talked about, I'm not hearing from our president. It's only to make a public condemnation. Somebody is trying to subvert your country that you're in charge of. You need to say something. This thing has been going on for about 1 month now. I'm not hearing anything.
Okay.
Uncle Yori, the only consolation I have is that let all the opponents wait. When Asiwaju is sworn in on 29th of May, he will surprise them with revolutionary governance. I pray we all live to see it. That is the only way he can pay back.
All right,
Good morning.
Thank you very much, and good morning to you, Mr. George. Well, Nosa, coming back to you, that gentleman was saying that the president, he hadn't heard from the president, but we have heard from the DSS, and they are the people, who go about these things. I don't know what you think. Do you also think we needed to have heard from the president, or he needs to stay above the fray so far as, institutions are doing their work, and the DSS has warned all those behind these kind of, activities to be very, very careful, lest the full weight of the law be visited upon them. Can you understand the restraint that's going on?
Yes. Thank you very much. Again, let me just make some comments here. Every Nigerian must condemn this kind of talk about interim national government, because it is basically means that we're trying to abort democratic process. So there is no place for this. But I would like to say this as well, that the Nigerian military, today, we have a professional military organization. And I want to commend the men and women of the Nigerian Armed Forces for having done a very decent job, terrific job in maintaining the peace and tranquility in the country during these elections. And of course, the Nigerian police force, because the Nigerian police are always under attack for various shenanigans, corruptions, and things like that. But they did very well because violence and other things were very minimal, during these elections. Again, the professionalism of the Nigerian military gives me confidence that any loose talk about coup d'etat or interim government is just hogwash.
Indeed.
It is not going to stick, and the Nigerian people will not stand for that. And the army knows that, and the army will not stand for that. The president does not need to say anything. There are adequate institutions that are meant to deal with this. The DSS will handle this, and of course, I will urge them, if they have people and credible information of people alleging or planning things like this, they should be arrested and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
Okay. Mr. Yakub in Dokwemu, good morning to you, sir.
Yeah, very good morning, sir.
Thank you for calling in. Good morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning to you.
Yes.
Let me begin by saying that whether they like it or not, God has already ordained Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. As Mr. George rightly said, all the obstacles before him, before the election, even during the primary election, even before the primary election, the way they remove Adam Oshimole, all because of him, we know it. And then at the end of the day, they bring another chairman that time. To cut the story short, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu won the election. See, Asiwaju have enemy within. Enemy within, I say, is that within the party, there are some certain people there, they don't even want him to become the flag bearer of the party in the first place. If not that we are on national TV. In fact, it is even clear to everyone. For example, somebody like Rotimi Ameti will add what he said last time. It is on public notice. So people that were calling for interim government. They don't know what they are saying. In fact, there was some young guys, period to 1993. Some of them have never been born. Some of them are still wear pampers. They don't know what we passed through at that time. They went ahead and go to the Nigeria headquarters, only for military to come and take over because they don't know what they're saying. And then they were saying they were obedient. Everybody that call him or herself obedient. The word of obedience is like they don't even know the meaning.
Yakub, you know, the DSS was discreet in its reportage of that event. It didn't actually name any one group.
See, Chief Jody, I can tell you for free. People the DSS does not mean, does not say anything. We, that the support of Bola Ahmed Tinubu and then support of APC in general, we know those people behind this thing. We are following them on social media. We know what they are saying.
Okay, I hear you. But let's just stick with what we were given. I hear you, sir.
God bless you, sir.
Thank you very much. As you can see, Nosa, it's a very impassioned subject. People are outraged and, in fact, want to go beyond. We're being as cautious as we need to be in the interest of peace and harmony. If the DSS didn't name us any names, then we're not going to provide names, you know, that kind of a thing. And we will, you know, sort of interject if anybody seeks to import names. We don't know who they are. The DSS must know who they are. But, I mean, the military headquarters people, they decided not to mention. And I'm sure it was all about all of this. We have to heal after all said and done. And I suppose they're making the best way possible. I think, in the meantime, is it Ahmed or Mohammed? Mohammed in Abuja. Good morning to you, sir.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for calling.
Good morning.
Yeah, thank you. I greet you, I guess, all the way from US.
Yes, Nosa.
Thank you. Good morning.
He's a Nigerian.
Yes.
And he needs to stand with Nigeria anytime, any day.
Which is precisely what he's doing.
Those in diaspora, they need to raise our voice. We in Nigeria, we depend on them. Let them raise our voice there so that the white men, the Western world will know that what is happening here in Nigeria is real. Nobody is hampering on anybody. And in my own faith, we believe that Asuaju's name is written in Lawhul Mahfuz. You know what we call Lawhul Mahfuz is in the heaven. Anybody that has to hold a position in the world, his name is there written. That is in my own faith.
Okay.
So we believe that Asuaju Bola Tinubu, all the intrigues, all the whatever that they did from primary, from whatever up to election.
It didn't work.
Secondary election, his name is there. That is why God has stand with him. And God is with him. He will be sworn in and he will lead Nigeria to the promised land. Because I believe Asuaju Bola Tinubu will bring a change to Nigeria. Even those that are against him, I assure you, Uncle Yori, who are in this your program will talk about it again. Because Indeed. They will confess, they will say, if to say they know, they would have voted for him.
Indeed.
And I'm sure they will talk good about him in not distant time. Because Asuaju Bola Tinubu will do better than all these people that ruled Nigeria before. Thank you and have a nice deliberation.
Thank you very much, Mohammed, for calling in.
Thank you. I like the enthusiasm of that caller, with relation to the president-elect. But I'll say this again, many Nigerians, are reacting based on emotions and videos that they are seeing. And I think that the media outlets like yours and other credible media in Nigeria need to really educate the Nigerian people not to believe any video content that they see. The existence of video, frankly speaking, does not in any way verify the authenticity or veracity of the contents. I have a nearly 2-decade experience in information technology, and I know that any video can be created, manipulated to show opposite of what the reality was. So we must be careful because many of these reactions and over-excitement or hyperbolic reactions in Nigeria today are premised on the existence of unsubstantiated or fake videos that are just being continuously churned out on the internet and WhatsApp pages. So The media houses must educate the people. Our law enforcement community as well must need to do more.
Thank you for bringing up that point, because there are all sorts of media on, on social media especially, which, as you know, is largely unregulated. Not as much on the TV stations and the radio stations, not as much. And what this does go to show is that people will just do anything that they want. You've heard people call in and say that in spite of everything, including the kitchen sink being thrown at Bola Ahmed Tinubu from the very, very beginning, that is why the other guys seem to go, all churchy on us. He said it's divinely ordained. There's nobody that could have come through all of that and still have, achieved if somehow there wasn't some divine angle somewhere. He would have been finished long ago. And so a lot of people, but I take very importantly what you say, that in the US where you are at, and I used one of your usages there, where you're at. We don't usually speak like that, but US people do. So,
That's true.
People will just believe a false narrative. We call them fifth columnists here. So maybe they're really thick over in the US and they persuaded themselves that anything but the actual truth is indeed the situation.
Yes.
But
that is so correct. Conspiracy theory, okay? We have a lot of conspiracy theories here in the US. And I'm sorry to say that in Nigeria today, we are beginning to see a trace of that element in Nigeria.
Mm-hmm.
A segment of our population now are buying into this conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
You will see information being shared on WhatsApp pages that would really juggle the sane mind, because information that is being sent to you, these are unrealistic. And I want to say this again, because fake news and adulterated video contents is a big threat to the national security of our country. In fact, I wrote an article recently on fake news and the danger it poses to our country, because if we don't manage this crisis seriously, if we don't take it seriously and manage it effectively, Nigeria may pay a very serious price for this. I'll give you an example. Just imagine, for instance, people would send video content showing a particular group of people from a section of the country have been slaughtered. This is a fake information, and it circulates online. And then there's a reaction somewhere to counter that alleged video content, only to find out 48 hours later that it was fake.
It was fake.
I mean, these are possibilities, and Nigerians better guard to this.
So
any video you see online, my principle is this: any video that I see online or WhatsApp, I assume it to be fake until I can verify the authenticity.
Well, that's very good advice. I want to thank you very much, Nosa Osaikhuiwu, based in Houston, Texas, a member of the Nigerian human rights community over in the US there. Thank you very much for your time this morning.
Thank you, sir. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. I wish you and Nigerians the very best.
Thank you.